an IPN enthusiast. IPN has been one of the great delights of my life in the last 12 years. It's been wonderful to belong to an IPN group of 7 practitioners, a group that meets every 5 or 6 weeks for half a day, and we've got to know each other very well enough to be able to stand by each other's work. And yet we can speak the unspeakable to each other if we need to, which we do from time to time, coupled with giving support and challenge. And being an IPN has been very nourishing for me, because for a long time I've had the ambition, how could spirituality, psychology and politics be somehow held in the same place? How could they be not just something to be wondered about, not just ideas out there? How could they be integrated into the life? And one of the things that's come out of my participation in IPN is the notion that the integrating factor is love. Love is what integrates spirituality, psychology and politics. Not just love as an idea, but living from love. With love being defined as seeking the flourishing of others. Mutual flourishing, in the light of my flourishing, of our flourishing. And it's a life task. And as this notion of living from love more and more took root, it became clear to me that IPN also offers a very practical way of working from love. So that's the first of my 3 enthusiasms. Now, of course, a problem about living and working from love is that it could be just a wishy-washy notion, a lifestyle option. If it's not to be like that, it needs to be grounded in something specific and practical. And where spirituality, politics and psychology came together for me was through my 20 years of connection with the practice of action research. In particular, the variant of it some people may know, cooperative inquiry. Unlike most psychological research, which is usually research on people, cooperative inquiry is a way of doing research, serious, rigorous research with people. And cooperative inquiry grounds living from love. It features recurring cycles of action and reflection. And alongside this, checking for validity. Are we following the original intentions? What might we be avoiding? What might be missing here? What's overheating? It might seem surprising to some IPN participants, but I see IPN, the whole of IPN, as action research, as a huge informal action research event, a form of collaborative research, a cooperative inquiry, the outcome of which is civic accountability. However, as soon as we get into the practicalities of cooperation, we are brought up against power. How is power shared or not shared? How is it held? How is it given away? And that brings me to the third of my enthusiasms for IPN. Because everywhere in IPN, people are aware of the distribution of power, how it's being used, and maybe how it might be being abused. Are we insisting on something? Are we looking for something to happen? Are we looking for connection? Are we looking to see what's seeking to be born, what's about to unfold? So I'd invite you to see being part of IPN as being a political statement. It's intrinsically a form of political action. And it has provided a wonderful vantage point from which to study the institutional arrangements in the mainstream psychological therapy accrediting bodies. This is established a benchmark of what counts as accountability from which to look at them. And indeed, IPN was formed out of resistance to the mainstream accrediting bodies, who do power, some of us think, very badly. I mean, there's the extraordinary, absolutely astonishing incongruence between the loving care of registrant practitioners in the therapy room and the bullying and coercion of their psychotherapy and counselling institutions. Quite extraordinary. And as some of us have diligently pointed out, the mismatch will be amplified when they are captured by the Health Professions Council. I'm not going to go on about this though, because pretty well everything I have to say about this sorry piece of history is contained in my recent book, Regulating the Psychological Therapies, From Taxonomy to Taxidermy, with the conclusion that, as you'll see from the cover graphic, what the psychological therapies have brought upon themselves, mapped, measured, captured, and the HPC cage has been readied there as we speak, is leading to the last of these, stuffed. And from my perspective, this is how state regulation looks. And I want to argue that, in sharp contrast to the ethical bankruptcy of the mainstream accrediting bodies, a vital element of IPN's importance lies in its values congruence. We may have all sorts of limitations and, as yet, not much of a face out into the world, but we do have values congruence. It is lived, it's organised, it's in place. Which brings me to my last point, a point of difficulty, because as I was preparing this talk for the IPN conference held early in the spring of 2007, I couldn't really get onto its democracy theme. We of course should think that democracy is a good idea, but actually the way it plays out is often very, very poor. And then it clicked. IPN is living, walking and talking democracy. This is how democracy can be done. For this last 12 years, IPN as an institution has been doing democracy. And I believe that this is a considerable achievement. One that's quite exemplary. Something other institutions could adopt. And I'll leave you with that thought.